sometimes growth is going to be lonelier than it is connecting. And the reason is because when you grow, I think you grow through different lonely lands.
Find your people, make sure you're the one determining your value, and yes, put yourself in a position to be valued, because at the end of the day, the nerdy kid at chess club is going to get more valued than the nerdy kid on the basketball court. And that's okay, and I think you got to be a little strategic while also making sure you don't determine your value based on the external world.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1492, one huge thing to understand when you are fear chasing. Today, for episode number 1493, growth can be lonely. Flashback to, it was either January or February, and I had reached out to an event called Podfest. It's one of the bigger podcast conferences in the world, and they were having an event in Orlando, Florida, and I wanted to speak. I was leaning into more of the podcast coaching, the podcast speaking, just being more of the podcast guy, and I said, hey, I know it's late, I know the event's in like a month, but I was wondering if you had any speaking opportunities available. And they said, we don't have any main stage stuff, but we actually are looking for some people to do some panels. Here are the list of panels that we have open. Let us know if you want to do one. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And I ended up being on a panel. And I was super excited. I was super excited to go speak on podcasting, something I'd never done before, but I had Podcast Growth University at this point. So I had been doing podcasts on podcasting, but I had never given a speech. What's happening?
I had to adjust my mic, good
okay.
sir.
Okay. I can't trust you over there with those smirks. I never know what's going on in that brain of yours.
It's fun over here.
Okay, it's fun over there. So Alan and I talk about it, and I'm like, hey, I think we should do this thing. It's not going to be paid, but I do think it's a great opportunity. What are your thoughts? He said, yeah, we got to do it. So I booked my flight. I booked my rental. That was actually the first time I ever drove a BMW, which led to me getting a new car. So that all connected nicely. Booked my Airbnb. Awesome. Cool. So I fly down, and I'm staying in this really nice, it was a brand new Airbnb. It was awesome. I loved it. And I get my BMW rental from the airport, and I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. This is the week. Like, this is it. Brand new BMW, convertible, nice Airbnb. Here we go. Go to the event, and it's in this amazing hotel right across from SeaWorld. Shout out to I don't like SeaWorld because of what they do to animals. And I go in, and it's like, oh my God, there's a waterfall. This is awesome. This is the best. And I go into the first presentation of the day and immediately was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be terrible. Now, I mean this with all the love in the world, but the first presentation I saw was people who had like 15 or 20 episodes teaching people about podcasting. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, no. I don't know if this is going to be good. I might be in trouble here. So I sit through that, and I met an amazing guy. His name was Corey. Really, really, really good human. So him and I chatted, and we basically spent the entire morning together. Then I went to another, they're called tracks. It's just a room that has a specific theme. And I bounced around all day. And I met up with Corey later, and I remember saying, like, I said, what do you think, man? What do you think of this so far? And he said, oh, it's awesome, man. A lot of very applicable stuff, but I'm also understanding a lot of this stuff doesn't really apply to me. And I was like, I don't want to put any negativity or take any wind out of your sails, but I also want to make sure you're not being misled.
Drinking the Kool-Aid here.
Yeah. I don't want you to leave here thinking one of two things. One, you can never be successful. Two, you're definitely going to be no matter what. I said the truth lies somewhere in the middle. So I said, if we're ever in a room and you have ever had any questions about like what they're saying, just ask me. I don't know everything, but I do know more than most people in this room, just based on our experience. So please use me as a resource if you need me. And I remember the event finished that day. I got in the car and I left, and I went back to the Airbnb. And I remember just feeling off. And I was just sad, and I felt depressed. That's probably the best way to put it, is I felt depressed. And I, at one point, was just sitting on the bed crying. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why do I feel so bad? And then I ordered food, as I would. I don't remember what I got. I got tacos or something. And I went to get my tacos, and I ate my tacos because I was like, maybe I'm just... Hell yes. Maybe I'm just overwhelmed. Maybe I'm homesick. I haven't really traveled. I don't know if I've traveled since I've been married. Maybe once. So maybe I just miss Taryn. I miss being at home. And I was like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like that. So I don't know if I texted you this day or I might have texted you the next day.
Long audio.
Yeah.
I was in South Carolina at the time.
Yeah.
I remember I was outside. Tucker was doing peas and poops, and I was listening to your audio. Yeah.
I don't remember if it was the first day or the second day. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was the first day. It was the first day. So I was just like, I don't even know how to explain it. I was just depressed. I was super sad. I was super down. I'm bawling my eyes out in this hotel room. And I remember I audioed Alan a long message of like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but like, I don't really feel like I belong here. And I thought I was going to meet so many people that I would feel closer to, but I feel further away from everybody else. And I don't know what the hell's going on. And I remember I FaceTimed Tara and I told her the same thing. I was like, I feel terrible. I am like depressed. I am sad. I've been crying. I don't know what's going on. So the next day I went, and it was very much the same. The morning was Jeff, but I was going to be on the panel that afternoon. So I ended up sitting through the day, and I remember I made a conscious decision where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go to any of these other things. I might just sit outside and work until the panel, and then I'll kind of take it from there. So we ended up doing the panel, and that was interesting. That was really fun. I enjoyed that very much, being on stage. I was nervous as all heck. That finished. Got some really good compliments from people, connected with people. And then I remember, I think I ran into Corey a little bit after. Corey was kind enough to take some pictures for me. He's my photographer for the afternoon. And I remember he was like, what's next? Where are you going? And I said, I think I'm going to leave, man. He's like, you're going to leave right now? And I was like, yeah, I think so. I think I'm done. I think I'm done here. And he's like, are you going home? And I said, no, I'm going home tomorrow. And I think it was a 3-day event. He said, you're going to come back tomorrow? And I said, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to come back. I don't know if I feel up to it. So I ended up leaving, going back, ordering food again. And same thing. I just felt empty. I just felt depressed. I felt sad. I just did not feel like normal Kev. And then I think the next day came and I just didn't go. I think it was a half day and I was like, I'm not going. I don't care. I'm going to sleep in. I'll go get a good workout in, then I'll fly home. I don't care. I don't want to go. I don't feel good about it. So the reason I tell that story is because I think one of the reasons I felt as bad as I did is because I felt lonelier than I had in the past. Now, and this part always makes me super nervous, so I'll just throw it out there. I don't mean this in any ego way. I don't mean this in any better than way. If you listen to this podcast, I feel safe saying that or saying this, but I just like throwing it out there. That event was not created for people like us who are doing really well in the industry. And we have a very successful business and 1,500 episodes, blah, blah, blah. I'm very privileged and I'm very grateful we've had the opportunity to create this. And we worked very, very diligently. But it almost felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't meant to be there. I wasn't going to meet my people there. And I think it was just another one of those moments of realization that you have through growth of, if I'm not going to find my people here at a podcast event, where am I going to find them? And I think that really is what hit me. So I think the reason I felt the way I did is because I was very, very lonely. And I expected that all the growth that I had was going to bring me less loneliness. When in reality, I think it actually brought me the opposite. And that was very, very jarring. And I had a moment a couple days ago where I was thinking about it and I was just reflecting on why I felt so bad. And I think that's really what it is. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I go on other podcasts and people say, wow, you guys have all these episodes, and I get a lot of really kind words, which I'm always very, very grateful for. But I almost feel like when I go on other shows, that's when I get to see my people. Or when I'm coaching my clients or our clients, that's when I get to see my people. And maybe when I go to another one in the future and I'm on stage and I have my own speech, maybe I'll feel more like that's my place and those are my people. I don't know. And this is nothing against any of the podcasters I may have met who are listening to the show. I don't mean it in that way. I just had different expectations than what happened. And I think that was just, a lot of it was because of loneliness or feeling of loneliness.
What was your expectations before versus after?
I don't know. Honestly, I think I expected to be more valued, is what I would say. I expect that what we've created is what a lot of people desire to create. So I expected to be more appreciated than I guess I was. And I did. I got some feedback from other people. A lot of people said it was different than it had been in the past. And I'm not crapping on Podfest. I will be going back in the future for sure. But that somebody else said that too. They said, I don't know, it felt a little different this year. I think it was the first year post-COVID. So that might have, it had been virtual for the last year or so because of COVID. So, but yeah, I thought I was going to connect with a bunch of people and maybe be seen as more of a quote-unquote expert than I was, I would say. Yeah.
What about on the panel?
It was very interesting. I was on there with three other humans, I think. And I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's very big on social media. But he doesn't even have a podcast, I don't think. He's got a YouTube channel and a very successful social media, but he doesn't really have a podcast. So I don't really think he knows that much about podcasting. And again, I don't mean that negatively. But yeah, it was good to be up there, but it was the same thing of, yeah, I think we're probably doing it differently than you guys are up here. It was probably not feeling like I was valued at the level that I have worked so diligently to be valued at. I think that really was what it was. Not that I don't know, do I expect anybody to treat me differently? No. But if anybody was going to recognize what it's taken to get here, I would expect it to be other podcasters.
Yeah.
And I think that's
it's
what
so
it was.
Interesting too, because when you go on other shows, I remember I used to go on other shows frequently, and I'm actually going to start back up. But anyone who's a podcaster early on, they kind of hear how many episodes we have and the listens and how far we've come and the mountain we've climbed, and they go, oh my, like, whoa, they're so blown away because, when you've been a podcaster, you know what it takes. It looks really easy. I think everything at the professional level looks really easy. You have those people in the stands that are like, oh, catch the ball. It's like, well, it was, It was an 87 mile per hour ball.
Yeah.
And I would love to see you try to catch that. But again, that's like a baseball reference, but it doesn't matter. Whatever sport, whatever, it's easy from the stands, right? It's easy from the stands. And yeah, I guess feeling unseen, unappreciated, undervalued, not understood, never feels good. And
no.
What does it mean to be with your people? It means you feel seen, you feel appreciated, you feel valued, you feel understood.
There's a common thread. There's a commonality that mends us all together.
Right.
And I thought I would feel more of that. And I didn't. Now, again, that could have been on me. Maybe I didn't put myself out there. Again, that's the thing, right? This was my experience. These are the feelings I had. Could I have done things differently? Absolutely. In the future, will I? Definitely. Do I know what yet? No, I don't. I don't quite know what yet, but I will.
Hey, I wanted to give my experience working with Kevin and the rest of the Next Level University team. It has been such a seamless relationship. He is so easy to work with, Kevin, and he gives you all the information you need, but doesn't overwhelm you. He's also meets you where you're at. So whatever you want to do, he'll make it work. And it's just, there's no stress, there's no drama. And everybody else that I've worked with has been patient with me because I am not technologically savvy. So they've been helpful and patient and just encouraging. And it's just been a fantastic experience. I highly, highly recommend working with them.
I had a moment in the gym recently, Alan. Friday, Saturday. I was in there early squatting. And I've been working my way back up with squats, and I've been doing a lot of mobility and working really, really hard to get back. And my last set was with 315, and I think I did it for 6. And my last rep was one of those, oh boy, this is going to be a real struggle. That, like, body was shaking when I was pushing it up to the top. And there's this guy in the gym. Him and I have connected. We're kind of buddies. We're gym buddies. His name's Jorge. And he pulled his headphones off. That's the international sign of, hey, I want to say something to you. And he's like, dude, your squat form is perfect. He's like, I don't know if I've seen a lot of people in here squat. I don't know if I've ever seen any squat like you. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And he's asking me all these questions. And it's like, that's what it feels like to be valued for something that you've worked really, really diligently at. But I don't expect that. But it's almost, that's the thing. It's kind of, you kind of know when you know more than someone else in something.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do.
You kind of know.
Yeah.
And I think there's times where other people know that you know more than they do, but they're not willing to give it to you.
Yeah.
And Jorge he gave it to me. It's like, awesome. Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe he's more confident, or maybe I don't know. But
more humble.
Very humble, dude. Yeah, terrifying human, too. First time I saw him, I was like, I'm going to stay out of your way, dude. For sure. Definitely.
No kidding.
So, but just a nice dude. Hungry to learn. I was showing him the mobility apps I use. I don't know. There's a lot of...
That's why he's so competent.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in that. But the whole thing, the entire point of this episode, from my perspective, is sometimes growth is going to be lonelier than it is connecting. And the reason is because when you grow, I think you grow through different lonely lands. And eventually you get to a place where, because there was times where we had a bunch of podcaster friends, and then we kind of kept going and they didn't, and that's nothing wrong with that. And then it was lonely land again. And then we got around certain mentors who had very successful podcasts. And I was like, all right, we found our people again. And then maybe we moved in a different direction than them. And so it's been cycles of lonely land and whatever the opposite of lonely land is.
Connection land.
Connection city.
I pulled up a framework called the Triad of Belonging. And if you picture a triangle with belonging at the center, there's, in the bottom left, there's feeling seen. In the upper part of the triangle, feeling understood. And then in the bottom right, feeling valued. And the reason it's in that order is because if you're not feeling seen, you can't really be understood. And if you aren't understood, you can't really be valued. At least not at your true value. So, for example, we have a team member, his name's Brandon, who was a really, really strong football player, both in high school and college. When a really successful football player gives a speech and talks about their struggles, Brandon sees them, understands them, and values them more than someone who's never played. Because they get the struggle. They understand what it's like to get hit by someone who's 250 pounds running full speed. And that's kind of what I think you expected at PodFest is these people know the struggle and they're going to appreciate me at a higher level and I can help them. And you were probably pretty let down. And maybe because you weren't shining in the way that would have been optimal, maybe because the event, should have had you as a speaker. And again, should have is a loose term. Yeah. But the lesson for this episode, I think, is just you don't want to be a country singer at a rap concert and determine your value and your worth based on that. You don't want to be a country singer at a rap concert. You don't want to be a rap singer at a country concert. I think it's important that we all understand that value is contextual. And some people, famous people talk about this. They say it's insane that I can do this thing and everyone around the world knows me. And yet there are people working just as hard as a doctor who have 1/100th of the success. The economy isn't fair. It's not. It's not supposed to be. And value is contextual. So instead of, first and foremost, put yourself in positions where you'll be seen, you'll be understood, you'll be valued. But when you're not, just make sure you don't let that leak into your value. Because at the end of the day, whether it's on the last episode, Kev talked about getting rejected by a girl at the gym. She has a boyfriend. If he determined his value is not there because she has a boyfriend, that makes no sense. It's not good for you. It's not constructive. It's not constructive. Just like, being a podcast guy who's a podcaster at PodFest, who's on stage talking about podcasting, that's a pretty sure bet that you're going to be valued. In this case, you weren't, and not as much as you had hoped or whatever. But at the end of the day, and also one last thing I'll share too. This is, whether it's conscious or not, being valued is very important to human beings.
Definitely.
Being valued is so important. I remember when I'll tell this very briefly, but in middle school, Kev, you'll remember this. I looked like a Backstreet Boy. I had long hair. I was one of the hair
bowl
boys.
cut. Yeah.
Yeah, bowl cut hair guy, blonde hair. And I looked a lot like Nick Carter, like a very mini version. And the Backstreet Boys were big, NSYNC was big, and hair was big. And it was the 90s, and I got a lot of love. I remember I got a $50 bill once on Valentine's Day, and the teachers would get so mad at the girls. It was a good time for me.
Someone stole that from somewhere.
What did you say?
Someone stole that from somewhere, I think.
Yeah, probably. And then everyone else hit puberty and became men and women, and I was just still a little boy. I hit puberty so late. I mean, I don't think I was like 5'3" or something when I was a freshman in high school, and my sister was really popular, and I was this really red-faced little short prepubescent little boy, and all the athletes got all the value. And I was just this nerd who cared about academics, and unfortunately, as a freshman in high school, maybe that's changed now, but back then, no one cares. And I just felt so insignificant. And so all of us have felt insignificant at times, whether it's you feeling short at the bar with the tall guys getting all the girls or whatever, or it's me realizing the athletes get all the praise and the nerds don't. At the end of the day, find your people, make sure you're the one determining your value, and yes, put yourself in a position to be valued, because at the end of the day, the nerdy kid at chess club is going to get more valued than the nerdy kid on the basketball court. And that's okay. And I think you got to be a little strategic while also making sure you don't determine your value based on the external world.
And the last thing I would say is use your expectations and then take the lessons and try to figure out what it means. That's all self-awareness is. And I was working through that in real time here, but I've worked through it a lot behind the scenes to figure out what does it all mean as well. So it's going to happen. You're going to have bouts of loneliness. You're going to have bouts of feeling on the outside. Sometimes that is a necessary byproduct of where you're going. By definition, if you want to fit in somewhere, you're not going to be able to fit in other places. It's kind of how it works to a degree, right? If I want to be a bodybuilder, I'm probably not going to fit in with yogis necessarily, because we just value different things. Now, can I partake in yoga? Sure. But I'm never going to know as much about yoga as somebody who just does yoga, just like they may never know as much about bodybuilding as I do bodybuilding. So maybe it's a sign of progress more so than it feels.
I just had a breakthrough, Kev.
Sure, man.
I've always felt like fitting in has been a challenge for me. Holistic growth actually makes it even more challenging, because wanting to be a bodybuilder, yogi, business owner, great intimate relationship, vulnerable, but also intelligent, but also it almost, you become rarer and rarer and rarer. And I guess that would be the last next level nugget I would say, which is the more rare you become, the more challenging it is to fit in. Doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean you're alone. It just means just understand that. I mean, how many people are healthy, wealthy, and in love?
Not as many that are healthy, or not as many
Right.
that are just wealthy. Yeah, for sure.
It becomes exponentially less statistically normal, and I think that you have to expect it to be lonely more than just kind of fitting in.
Last thing, I promise. I think the reason I felt the way I felt was because I was trying to stand out, not fit in. And I actually fit in more than I expected from a energetic place. I wanted to stand out, genuinely. Because that's how you get on stage, because you stand out. You get the opportunity to speak because you stand out. I think I was sad that I didn't stand out more, mixed with also fitting in. So
what if you could stand out by fitting in?
I don't know.
Because that's more means. Kev anyway. You're more of the
Yeah.
connect with anyone type of guy anyway.
Well, oh, that's never going to go away. That part I don't ever want to lose that. But it's like, this is the thing I've worked hardest at for the last 6 years. So I feel like I'm ready to stand out. Maybe that's what it was. It's like, I'm ready for this to be my coming out party of podcasting. Oh, that didn't happen. Okay. Damn. What does that mean? So lessons. There's lessons in all of it. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk on growth. I appreciate it very, 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 very much. We are very excited. We have a new department at Next Level U. It's called Next Level Video Production. The reason this came up was I and Alan and the team and everybody realized, as much as people probably should have podcasts, especially business owners, coaches, people trying to get their message out there, not everybody's going to. So Next Level Video Production, I actually interview our clients for an hour. We take that interview and we break it up into social media content, and then we share it on your social media for you. So if you're out there and you don't want to have a podcast, you're not interested, but you need content for social media to help show off the level of expertise that you actually have, please let us know. Be happy to talk to you about what that all looks like. And right now it's an up and running department, which I am super excited about. So if that appeals to you, please reach out, Kevin@nextleveluniverse.com. I'm happy to explain it. You don't have to give me any money. We can definitely discuss it before any of that happens.
And it's most likely more affordable than you think.
It definitely is.
It definitely is. We also have a Next Level monthly meetup on November 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is called How to Communicate a Vulnerable Truth. Kevin and I are potentially giving a speech soon on fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of judgment. And similar to what Kevin just did, sharing his story about Podfest and not wanting to be seen as talking negatively about Podfest, and that was a very vulnerable share. What does it mean to be vulnerable? It means sharing a fear, sharing an insecurity, sharing something about yourself that is scary to share. And if you cannot do that, it will hold you back forever, because people connect with like fears, and they connect with people who are humble enough to show their imperfections. And so that's what that monthly meetup is going to be about, how to communicate a vulnerable truth. If you come to that, I promise you will leave with the ability to connect with more people, the ability to sell more if you're in any sort of product or sales position, the ability to story tell better, the ability to speak better, the ability to have a better intimate relationship, because it requires more vulnerability there than anywhere else. So join us, and the link will be in the show notes.
Tomorrow for episode number 1494. For some reason, that is a very hard number to say. Regret can come from the right decisions too. I heard this somewhere recently, and I thought it would be a really powerful episode, because we talked a lot about regret in the past, but usually regret is attached to negative things. What? Yeah.
Just a happy person.
Just for those listening, Alan is smiling at me, and anytime he does, I have to call it out, because I don't know. Do I have a booger? Maybe. It's definitely possible.
No bugs.
So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We hope you will join us. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday if you are listening to this on Wednesday. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stick with it through Lonely Land. Next Level Nation.